So now let's move over to your field, particularly agriculture and cashew. Before we delve into specific matters, I'd like to get your thoughts. It's a new administration now. I believe President Buhari then, he would always make reference to how the farm is a solution. He would casually say, we can go back to farms, and so on and so forth. So with President Tinubu during his campaign period, he also talked about agriculture, some of them even being repeated everywhere, with the issues of Agbado and so on.
Yes.
I'd like to get your thoughts. As the new administration has come in, what do you think are the prospects for agriculture now? There are new ministers now. How do you envision things, the prospects?
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, Nigeria has to be patient. And that is the angle I want us to take it from. The new administration, I think from the way we looked at it, he's doing well, as expected, as we are expecting from him. He's quietly doing well. And being a person that I have been, studied and I have known him from afar, I've studied him from afar, I see him and I call him a pro-Nigerian. He has Nigerian project at heart, and he's sincerely working towards it. And if you notice, the subsidy removal was not actually in his speech. On the swearing-in stage, it was not actually what he said, but the zeal that he wants things to be done right and could not wait, and he announced the removal of the first subsidy. Whichever way it comes, there must be pains that we must go through before we can get it right. Just like when they say, before gold become gold, it passed through fire. So Nigerians will just exercise patience and see what we can do. Then let's talk about agriculture. Said if the angle is looking at, remember the palliatives he rolled out, he gave out 200 billion naira for agriculture, and also marked some money also for industry, about 75 billion also for industries. So you can see that he has a focus also in the areas to see how he can touch the life of our people. And that's why I said we need patience to see what will be the outcome of those results. I believe with agriculture, we will do better.
All right, you've spoken about perhaps the patience for what to come. But let's talk about what can come, the opportunities. People still look at agriculture as carrying hoe and cutlass and going to the farm, and that, you just toil in the sun, and, there's not much there. Especially for young persons who are more tech inclined these days, people start to wonder who will handle the farms, who will handle agriculture at the end of the day. I'd like to get your thoughts. Why is agriculture actually attractive? Why is it something that people should start to look to get into, and not something to run away from because you get your fingers dirty?
Thank you. People have to start to look at agriculture as business. Because, the perception we have in the past is like agriculture is just like you go to farm just to feed people or just to get something to do. Now, if you look at agriculture as a business, you take it as a business, you know that it is not something that you will not like to go into. It is something that you want to do to make your ends meet. It is not just going there to feed the people, it's also a business. So I want our younger ones to look at it from that angle as a business. Let them begin to reason it through that one, that it's a business that I can go into and make my ends meet with this agriculture. With agriculture, there are so many things you can do. Like I said to people, necessity, they say, is the mother of invention. Now, by the time you go into it, I thought we are doing it proper, we begin to see what you as a young man, according to the innovation you have gotten, what can you invent? What can you do to make the sector a different one? That is when they looked at it as a business, not just like what our forefathers were doing, carrying hoes and cutlass, going to hit the ground. But this time they are looking at it as a business. They begin to bring us something that will better their own time. Like we are a generation that is fading. We are gradually fading away. We are going. The younger ones that are coming should begin to take agriculture as a business. And if they reason it that way, I'm sure they'll get something better out of it.
That's fair enough. I want to quote something here in terms of agriculture. You correct me if I'm wrong. The federal government, that's the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, earlier, the former minister, pardon me,
yes,
Dr. Mahmoud Abubakar, made a statement, and I want to know the veracity of that if you can. He says that Nigeria earns $250 million from exports in cashew nuts in 2022. Are those numbers exaggerated or?
Let me be honest with you. That is because it's going official. It's far lower than what cashew net into the economy. Yeah, it's far, far lower. It is not an exaggeration. It's far, far lower. And
sorry, let me get you correctly. You are saying the figure is not as high as it should be.
No, the figure is higher than that.
It is higher than $250 million.
Yes, the figure is higher than $250 million.
Wow.
Yeah, because if you want to go by the records of our export alone, you can get some statistics, better statistics from the Nigeria Export Promotion Council. You can go through the export expansion grant that is being granted to the beneficiaries and see what is released to people who have exported this commodity out of the country. That will give you a clue. Yes, cashew nut. That will give you a clue. We have what we call a market intelligence that was released recently to just the GCC country alone. We call them, that is when we say GCC, we are talking about the how do I call it now? The Arabian countries, the Arabian countries, all these areas there. The cashew that was exported to those areas alone, Nigeria net about 1.8 million. Only for that community alone. We are not talking about what is exported to America, what is exported to other continent of the world. So cashew is doing extremely much more than what the minister gave us as a figure.
How did this come to be? You know, we have to ask because I think people underrate. You know, it's such a specific agricultural produce, cashew nuts. So I don't know. Is it the whole cashew or just the nuts?
Let me give you. I'll take your time there. I'll take your time there.
Because the Nigerians want to know when they see the figure, they say cashew nuts. How? You know, how does that happen?
So that's. I'll take your time a bit in this one. Let me analyze it for you because that is my area. Now, cashew is a tree that called zero waste. It has zero waste if you harness the potential that is inside the cashew tree. Now let me start from the local level. In the local level, you know, people use the cashew tree for treating what you call a fever. They use the leaf in doing agbo and all those things. Now for cashew, you know, when you harvest cashew, you take only the nut. What we are exporting currently is just the nut and the processed nut of it here. We are not working on the real things that will actually benefit us as a country. Now Nigeria is number 5th highest producer of cashew in the whole world. Now with Ivory Coast taking the lead. Ivory Coast, you know, our neighbor here, taking the lead in producing cashew. Now in this cashew that we are producing here in Nigeria, our major export zone where we take a cashew to is 2 major places. Talk about India and Vietnam. Now, those are the major places we are exporting our cashew. Now, in Nigeria, we have the best of cashew when it talks to the flavor, when it talks to the quality of it, because all Nigeria cashew can be said to be organic. But, you know, before you can say this is an organic product, it has to go through certification and processing. And this is just means of documentation, which we don't have in this part of the world, because most of our products here are wide farms, but now they are being taken over by people who are not taking care of them to become their own farms, and they are getting a benefit out of it. For a ton of cashew, when the season started, was selling for $1,200. For instance, a ton of cashew for $1,200. Now, what we are currently, according to the export, because we don't have the real statistic of it, the export, that is the people that are buying from us outside the country, the report given to us, the intelligence report we are getting from there is that what they exported out of Nigeria is about 350,000 tons of cashew as at last season. Now, if you times that by $1,200, that is sold by a ton. As at last year, we sold for $1,340 per ton. So if you quantify it and you times the figure, you will see that what I said, that 250 is lower. That is lower than what actually was exported out of Nigeria. And cashew has this lifespan. A tree of cashew can last you for minimum of 45 years or just say, let me give you an average of 40 years that it will begin to produce for you. Now, it may take you 3 years before you start harvesting from it, but you can leverage on it for the next 45 years or 50 years that you are going to harvest cash. So it's a cash crop tree that, you know, you like I tell people plan your retirement with cashew farm. When you are retiring from services as a public servant, plan retirement with cashew, because it's something you can live on and begin to harvest. Every year you go there just to harvest and feed your family with it.
All right, this is very interesting to know. You know, we learn every day. Because I just buy cashews, and I think it's just, you know, another another snack, not knowing that people are making millions of it. But this is what we talk about when we talk about diversification of the economy, and not just focusing on oil and so on and so forth. So I'd like to know, because the attention given to oil is understandable. You know, it has been sustaining the country for years. But when you describe things like this, we start to see what opportunities there are. So I'd like to know, so far, what has been the government's involvement in this, trying to, you know, make it reach that level where it can stand as a part of the economy, even though this is just cashew nut within the agricultural sector, it's not the entire agricultural sector, that you can start to make these things stand out and bring much more revenue into the country. What has the government been able to do to assist yourself and others?
Thank you. My predecessor that I took over the leadership of NCAN from did his best when he was there as the president of NCAN. Then he has a link with the Minister of Agriculture, then the one we call the AAA, who is now the African Development Bank president. And before Audu Ogbe came, he worked with both of them, and they actually had you know, knowledge, or they take advantage of what he told them, and they worked on it. Audu Ogbe himself was also a cashew farmer. Though unfortunately he promised before he left that he was going to invest in the processing, which is what we are currently working on, to see that we process what we are doing here. He tried to add a value to it, and he did this one before he left. When Nanano came, he also took over from here, and he did his best before Mahmoud Anakari. Now, what the government has been doing their best through the development agencies, like you talk about Raw Material Research and Development Council, or Nigeria Export Promotion Council, which I have talked of. These agencies are doing everything that they feel that they have power to do, to see that they promote the knowledge of the potential that are inside the cashew industry. That is quite ongoing, and as an association we have been engaging each and every one of them to see that the potentials that are inside this cashew are quite enhanced. Now, like I told you, Ivory Coast is taking the lead. How much is the population of Ivory Coast, and what is their land mass? And in Nigeria, cashew can actually be grown all across the country, but currently it's being grown in 22 countries in Nigeria. But as an association, we have gone around
22 states, right?
Yes, 22 states in Nigeria. And but as an association, we have also taken a measure to study and to see where and where can we encourage growth, because we cover the whole nation, and we have our roots even as far as the local government. Then we discovered that in about 89 senatorial districts, we can grow cashew in a commercial volume. So we now decided to send proposals to agencies and development partners that can give us cooperation and see and how we achieve this goal. And this is how we intend to get it, to start nursery farms all across the 89 senatorial district, and we just need only 6 hectares of land. 3 hectares of land, and these 3 hectares of land we are going to be farming. In each hectares of land we are going to be nursing 2,000 seedlings in each of the nursery farm. So we have about 3 nursery farm in each of the senatorial districts, and this 3 nursery farm is going to be giving us about 15 minimum employment in that area, because we need minimum of 5 persons to nurse each of the nursery farm, and mostly we need about 3 women in each of them to do the watering alone, because after the day you need somebody to put the watering alone. So we'll be needing women a lot, and that's why I'm saying that they don't need to go out for prostitution in their areas. We're bringing jobs to come and meet them. And after that, we are still going to distribute this seed there for them for farming. And so if we are able to do that in our own calculation, in another 4 years, by our calculation, a maximum of 5 years, say we started harvesting from the period of 3 years. By the time we plant the first year, and we do the second year, we do the third year, and from the fourth year, we started harvesting. And from the fifth year, we have clocked over 1 million. By the time we are getting to the sixth year, we have gotten to with what we're having today, we're thinking of having about 1.8 million that will be produced. And so if we add it to what we are currently producing, we are sure of getting 2 million metric tons of cashew. And if we got 2 million tons of cashew and we are selling without adding value to it, just selling only the raw nut, we'll be earning about 2.4 billion naira, dollars into the economy. Now, if we decide to say we are processing them here in Nigeria, let me tell you what we are going to get. If we decide to process the cashew here in Nigeria, so let's process what we are producing, just like what Obasanjo told us when we went to visit him, of my president. He said, Mr. President, do everything to see that we process what we are producing in the country. If we get there and we achieve it, now for every 15 tons, every 15,000 tons capacity factory, should we employ the minimum of 800 women, because you have what is called double shift. That is 25 tons per shift. That will make you 50 tons per day. They will be processing about 15,000 tons of cashew every year. They will be employing about 800 women that will do daily work in that factory, outside the people that will be employed as May. Then you can know that after the direct employment, the indirect employment that we are going to create around that environment, the social life that is going to grow around that environment, that is under market. Not just that alone, you have also created employment for the people that will be marketing those products. We have also created employment for them. And by so doing, we have increased our farmers. We have increased the income of our farmers. And we have also increased numbers of farmers that will get interest to go into the sector. There are a lot that is in cashew that I want the government to please beam their torchlight into it and look at it very well. If they come to that angle, they are sure of making something that will be enormous, and not just looking at the foreign earning, but it's a major foreign earning market. Why did I say so? Now, the outside world is growing more, especially the people that consume this cashew. We are having increase of vegetarians across the nations of the earth of the world. We are having increase of vegetarians. And vegetarians, what is their meat? It's not cashew, almond, and all those. That is what they eat. So if we begin to grow it, there is always market for it, because the population of the world, whether we like it or not, will continue to increase. And it has been projected that Nigeria in another 30 years or so would have doubled in our own population. So if we are going to increase our population, we need to start to find a way to create jobs for the unborn generation. When they come there, they will not be jobless like what we are having today in the country. And cashew can actually do this. And if you are doing it, you are not just creating jobs for people, you are also making a lot of money for yourself. It's also a high money spinner for each of the citizens that is into the business. All right,
thank you so much, Prince Ajanaku. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
I love segments or episodes like this that project hope. There's a solution, there's a plan. It's just for others to key into it, and we'll get there. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything.
All right, that's all we'll take on this segment of the program. We'll bring you some reports now. When we return, the POLITY continues. Stay with us.